Nebraska at Kansas State, Thursday night ESPN. Marco, what should batters be looking at?
Well, RJ, you got a Thursday night home dog. Do they have enough bark to pull the upset? Nebraska on paper appears to be too physical of a team for Kansas State.
So you think Nebraska's too physical? You're leaning Nebraska right off.
I have Nebraska when we get here, when we talk about it. I actually have it right around the number. I think Vegas has this pretty close to it. This Nebraska team, the one test that they had this year, they went to Washington and they just absolutely cold-cocked Washington. One interesting stat I have, and I know this is your best bet, so I'll let you have the show, but Nebraska is averaging 40 points a game, and through 4 games, they've already had 10 turnovers, and they're still averaging 40 points a game.
And I think that Washington game is the game to look at, is because on one hand, the USC win makes the Washington win by, so Washington beating USC makes the Washington loss against Nebraska look more positive for Nebraska, no doubt about that. I'm not sure how good this USC team is, and that's causing me not to be impressed by that Nebraska win, because I think it's impressive, but not quite as impressed. But it is my best bet, and I'll tell you why. This is about Bill Snyder, and he's back second year at K-State in his second tenure there. This is a guy that turned around, for the younger viewers out there, turned around one of the worst programs in the history of college football. And it happened to be that one of my buddies from back home was actually played on that Kansas State team, 88 through 93. So I was, and Snyder came in 89. And I really was there for the week-by-week, blow-by-blow of Bill Snyder. Some of my friends were on his staff later in the 90s. This is a guy who was dominant at home. And literally back when Nebraska was the best thing in the mid-90s, Kansas State was favored at home against him in the mid-90s. This is a great home team, and I think Snyder has that back, and here's why. 4-1 ATS last year at home. This year, they're only 2-2. They haven't played a road game yet. This is their 5th game, Kansas State, and it's their 5th game at home. 2-2 ATS, but they lost the 2 games by a combined 5.5 points. So 1 field goal in each game, and lo and behold, you've got a 8-1 ATS record at home since they came back, since the Snyder staff came back. I think you've got a Nebraska team that's looking really good because of that Washington, which puts a little premium on this. I think K-State is going to be more fired up for and you make a good point, national TV game, that I don't think they're going to, you may have a point, Nebraska is more physical. I think they're going to be tenacious, and I'm getting double digits with a great coach that really dominates typically at home. How would you go against that?
Well, it's kind of hard. My concern with Kansas State is that 2 of their wins were against Iowa State only by 7 points, and then
they
Central
covered that
Florida.
game, right?
They did, barely, but they did. In Central
So when you cover, it means you exceeded expectations.
Well, they didn't cover the Central Florida game, so they win 17-13. But we could say they were in a look-ahead mode.
Snyder, and again, this is one of the few coaches I have real deep insight into. He's Mr. Vanilla. He's renowned, you may remember, when they were really good in the mid to late 90s for playing the worst non-conference schedule possible.
I remember very well, and I was going to bring it up, but what I remember about Coach Snyder is every year they would start the season, it seemed like 8-0, or 7-0, and then they'd have that one loss, and then he'd be, teed off at the end of the year when they didn't get a good bowl game.
I mean, this is a team, and I'm just going off the top of my head, when they were rolling in the late 90s, they finished in like the top 8 in the country like 4 straight years. This is a team that was one play, they had an amazing staff in the 90s. Mike Stoops, the coach of Arizona, was there. Bob Stoops was there. I mean, the coaching tree of Snyder is almost the entire Big 12 is off that coaching tree. And this is a guy that from what I hear from, and I still have some friends on the team, is on the staff, is this team he's serious. He's not going through the motions. He's not collecting a check. He's there to win. And again, this is about, should this line be 9 or should it be 11.5? I think the line should be 9, maybe 8, and the value is those 3.5 points. Clearly, Nebraska is the better team. clearly, or not clearly, but here's an interesting point. Nebraska is projected to be favored in every game the rest of the year prior to the Big 12 championship game, every scheduled game. So this is a really good team. I just think, now, here's one thing that makes me not like Kansas State as much as I could. I think Nebraska is going to be really motivated here. They know that style points are going to matter, and they could go undefeated. I mean, it always happens. We always think there's going to be 6 undefeated teams, and it never happens that way. But right now, they're thinking we've got to be impressive, and I think they're going to be up for the game. Again, this is a bet on Bill Snyder.
It's good. And one thing that I'll add to you that you will like with your Kansas State, this is a turning point for the Kansas State program. If they pull the upset here against Nebraska with Bill Snyder, since he's come back, it is a statement game to all those recruits that might be a little bit hesitant because of his age of going back to that school. They've had that problem, and I'm familiar with that because of Joe Paterno at Penn State and that, where the program started to go on a decline and everybody was calling for Joe Pa's resignation. That a lot of people don't know how serious he is. This will be a statement game if he could pull it off to put the Kansas State program back on the map.
Yeah, I think both teams ultra motivated. I think we're getting about 3 points of value here. Anything to close?
Nope.
All right, so we're giving away our $10 coupon early this week. Why don't you give the listeners
As we do every week, we're going to give away a coupon. It's good for $10. It's going to save you $10. So that's going to be the coupon. Actually, the word save and the number 10. All you have to do is go to the checkout, enter that in the coupon code. You'll get $10 off your purchase. And if it happens to be a $10 package, it's free on the house. Nothing for RJ.
All right, now it's your turn to continue the conversation in the comments section with me and Marco. And next up, we're going to be talking Friday ESPN action. We got UConn at Rutgers.